Alright, so this is the instruction of how to install and get riverSpider to work in Windows, but the later portion also applies to Mac OS. So if you're using Mac OS, I will most likely include how to skip to the portion that is applicable to you. Alright, so this is the share folder that you have a link to at the beginning of each of your Canvas course shell. And then what you do is you go to processor as a subfolder. And then once you get there, you want to go to a specific assembler. And I made one special assembler that is intended for this purpose. But I cannot. Oh, there you go. So the one that you want to copy from is assembler student, because this one already has quote unquote the password set up for your riverSpider default file to work. So go here and you need to double click it to open it, because this is still my copy. So what you need to do is to make a copy of this to your own folder. So you go to file and then you go to make a copy. Make sure you change the folder where you'll be copying this to a place that oh, I clicked the wrong link, sorry about that. Let me do that one more time. All right, so go to file, go to make a copy, and there's no need to click click on the attach your app script file, and instead go to folder and click on that. And now you'll navigate to your own folder. Now this is still my folder, so what you need to do is to go all the way back to the beginning. So from, it's harder for me, so I can click on all locations. Make sure you go to my drive, because my drive is always going to be your actual drive. And once you get there, you can navigate to whatever subfolder that you want to navigate into. And I am just going to stick it to where we are now located. So we'll just go ahead and select this particular folder. Okay, I'll just select ARC as a subfolder. And the rest of this you don't really have to copy, or you don't have to click these, just make a copy. And as soon as you make a copy, a new tab in your browser would open to the new copy. So this is the new copy. And then you can close the other one, because you don't want to accidentally use mine. I mean, it's not going to work for you, but it's still good to kind of make sure that you only have the tab that is applicable to you. The name of the spreadsheet can remain as the default, which is just copy of assembler student. You can keep it the same if you want to. It's not important. The file name is not super important. And I'm just changing my mic volume because it doesn't seem to be picking up as much. Let me see which mic it's using. I see. Okay, I see what it's doing. It is picking up the mic from my, that is interesting. Huh. Okay. All right, so okay. It's still picking up. It's just I'm not sure which mic is picking up from. Anyway, once we get here, there's not much that you have to do here. Okay, so you have to do the following. So this is the portion where Mac OS people also need to pay attention to. Let me see, how should I do this? I'll leave this one not. I'll leave this stage for now. So what the next thing we need to do is to get a copy of riverSpider. For Windows people, you want to make a copy of sig riverSpider.7z. So right click on this and then download. Now this is a relatively large file. It's half a gig. By today's standard, it's not too bad, but back in the day, this is a lot of. I mean, the file is relatively large. Save the file. And once you save the file, go ahead and open it. And right here we can see the download process. So before you open the file, you can see that it's a 7-zip file. So that means if you do not have 7-zip already, if you don't have your 7-zip already installed, look for 7-zip download. There's also a link in the document, and you go to 7-zip, and you can actually just go straight to the download link here, and then go for the first one. For most people, the first one will work. Download and just install it like any other application in Windows, because you need that. Now, I don't have to go through that process because this virtual machine already has 7-zip installed. So now we go to the File Explorer, okay, just so that we can use the GUI to process the file. And okay. Oh, that's for options. Okay, so how do I get to just the File Explorer? Let me see. Okay, these are all about the settings. That is kind of strange. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to see if I can open just the File Explorer. It looks like it's gonna be a hassle. Okay. So the other way to do this is to click on Downloads, and instead of clicking on the file itself, you'll click on the little folder thing here. So what that does is it will show you, where the file is downloaded. Typically, it's just in Downloads, but it will also open up the File Explorer, which is what I was trying to get to. If you already have 7-zip already installed, if you already have 7-zip installed, you can right-click on this and go to 7-zip. It will give you a bunch of options here. For now, I am just going to say extract files or extract here. That's the simplest option to do this. But to do this, you kind of need to make sure that your drive has enough capacity to do this. It's about 1.4, 1.5 gigabytes after the expansion. So altogether, your whatever device you're doing this on needs to have about 2 gigabytes of free space, probably a little more, because there's a bunch of tiny little files and they tend to use up more space once they are expanded, because there's a minimum size of allocation unit, which means when we are creating a lot of small files, the overhead is actually more significant than when we have just a single large file. And this process can also take a long time depending on your device. If you have if you're doing this on a thumb drive, this can literally take you more than an hour. So my suggestion is to do this on a regular hard drive or an SSD, and then copy that to a thumb drive. Even the copying is going to take a while too. Anyway, so now we got everything decompressed, and you can remove the 7-zip file if you want to, but if your file storage is not a big concern to you, you can just kind of leave it around. But this is the actual folder after expansion. So what you do is double click it, and then double click Cygwin, and then double click Cygwin Portable, right, this one here. And this is going to start up the TUI, the text user interface of Cygwin. Cygwin is essentially a shell or command line interface environment that resembles Linux or Unix systems. So you can use the same commands and most of the same tools, and it also has packages too, which basically means that if some of the packages are not included or they're not already installed, you can install those. All right, so this is this is the Cygwin interface, and the first thing, this is your command line interface right here. So now you can type in the command, and the first thing we want to do is to change to riverSpider, and it is case sensitive. So once we get into the folder, the next thing we need to do is to go back. So this is where the Mac OS people also need to pay attention to. And we are about 10 minutes into the recording, so I will make a note of that. 10 minutes into the recording, so give me a second here so I can kind of use my little notepad here to leave a note. So 10-minute mark for Mac OS and Linux users. Okay, there we go. All right, so getting back to here. So you can do a ls, which lists all the files in the folder, and it has a bunch of files. Most of these files are already set up and you don't have to make any modifications. The only one file that you need to change is webapp.url. The secret file is already set up. You can do a cat secret string.txt, and it is already set up to match the password expected by the assembler on the other side. So this is kind of the merge point for people who are using Mac OS. Now, I don't have a Mac OS nor a Mac OS emulator, so it's kind of more difficult for me to double check on that particular setup. So now what you need to do is to go back to the browser. Okay, so let me go back to the browser here and go back to the assembler. Okay, remember you have to be using the assembler student or copy of that, because the actual assembler that I use in class has a different password setup, so that one is not going to work for you. Then you go to extensions, and then you go to app script. We're not going to make any changes to the web script. It's already set up the way it's supposed to be. But what you do need to do is to go to deploy and then click on new deployment. And once you get there, your web app is the kind of deployment that we want to do. And when you do this, it will ask you to execute as you. Okay, so it will still say me, but the ID is going to be your ID. And it will also say who has access, which is anyone. And that is fine. Okay, this is actually what we need in order for the riverSpider script to work. So then you click deploy, and because you are not me, when you click this, it's going to ask you a bunch of questions. Oh, okay, it does ask me questions too. So authorize access, just click yes and specify the account. So you have to go through this process too, and just allow the script to have access to your content. And by the time you do this, the script actually belongs to you, so there's nothing I can do on my side to check out what is on your Google Drive, so no need to worry about that. All right, so this is the important part. Okay, what you need to do is to go to web app here and copy the URL of the web app. So click copy, and then you can click done over here. Then you switch back to the Sigwin window, and then this is the command that you need to type. So say cat, like the animal, pet, space, greater than, and then a space, and now the file name, which is webapp.uri, and then press the enter key. Now you need to paste the stuff that we copied earlier. Control V should work here, but since I'm running inside the virtual machine, that may... Nope, this is about Sigwin itself. Okay, so just click OK. It's pasting the wrong thing here, because the actual buffer that I have is on something else. Okay, so that's not working. All right, so I just type Control C to stop the process. So let me do that one more time. All right, so let's do this one more time. Go to deploy, and since I have already created the deployment, I can now go to manage deployments, and then we go to untitled, and then go to the URL, and then click copy, and then click cancel. So it should be in the buffer at this point. So let me see if I can just do a right click. Yep, so right click works to do the paste from the buffer into the text here. So once you paste, press the enter key, and then type Control D here. You cannot see what I'm typing, so I'm telling you what I'm typing. Control D, and Control D means end of file in Linux and also Unix. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a file from the command line interface, and that's why we need to mark, hey, this is the end of the file. So at this point, the whole thing should work. So now we go back to the browser to double check. So we first delete this here, and then what we do is to go to the source tab here, and we'll erase the content of column A, just so that I can see whether the script is working or not. Then we switch back to the command line interface in Cygwin, and then type /submit.sh and then test.ttp-asm. The test file is already included, so you don't have to create it. And it is working. So I can see it's working already because the text just appear on this side, and it will actually go through the whole process to run it too. So if you're using Cygwin, you don't need to install Logisim 310 because it's actually included in Logisim 310. Now, if you're using a Mac and following along, one thing that you do need to change is the secret file. Okay, so if you look at the secret string.txt file, it may not be like this. Okay, the distribution that I have already uploaded may not have this, so you might need to double check on that. But other than that, this is the whole process of getting your own riverSpider setup. And at this point, when you are done with using riverSpider, you can type exit, and that will stop the Cygwin window. And if you want to, you can now go back to your where you decompress the entire thing, which in this case is the downloads folder. So now this folder, which is highlighted, is the only folder that you need to get riverSpider to run. And you can optionally put it onto a thumb drive or an external hard drive so that you can bring it with you to school. So this way you can use all the school computers to basically do your homework assignment in CISP 310. So that pretty much concludes the demonstration of how to install Cygwin and riverSpider on a Windows machine. And the whole process took about 17 minutes. But most of the time, it's not really what you're doing. Most of the time that you need to spend has to do with the decompression process. It's going to take a lot longer compared to what I just showed you here, because the virtual machine actually has extremely fast back-end storage. So that's it. Okay, I will stop the recording and upload it, and also I will double check on the Mac setup and make sure that that is also matching the Windows setup. All right, thanks for watching.